All right. I'm just kidding. There's nothing in here. I opened this weeks ago. Yo, Josh, today we're talking MAVIC Air 2. I've had this for a few weeks. There is some surprising horsepower in here that has really... So before I jump into this, I want to ask, how are you guys doing? I know it's been a while since I've done an episode, or at least talked to you guys in an episode. I hope you guys are being safe. I am being safe. It's interesting times right now, I'll give you that. Now is the time that you guys should be creating art and being super creative and investing in your talent and your story writing. If you guys want to know kind of what I've been dealing with, take a look at the video right there. I won't tell you anything more, but it is what has been on my mind a lot lately. I don't want to darken the doorway of this though, because it's super exciting. And I'm actually really pumped that I got this. All right, so this is what it's replacing. Obviously, size-wise, these are pretty comparable. When you fold it up, the MAVIC Air 2 is just a little bit bigger. The biggest difference, I think, in size is gonna be the controller, but this is actually a benefit to the MAVIC Air 2. The controller battery life is significantly better. The connection is better. And you also can now charge your phone while you fly. So that's huge for me. I never charge my phone, whereas this guy, you can't. So I always forget to charge these things, and it's always like beeping and telling me it's gonna crash into a tree. This thing looks a little bit easier to use, definitely easier than, you know, wrangling the phone out of the case and then fit it in there. I could just fit it in here with the phone on the case and totally be fine. My biggest complaint about the MAVIC Air original was the whining high-pitched noise, and that's because these blades are smaller, they're going faster. They basically fixed that with the new propellers. They adopted those from the MAVIC Pro 2. Those are the quiet propellers, so now it's significantly less noisy. Maybe we could do a decibel test? Of course, the battery life is like the biggest kicker. 18 minutes versus 34 minutes. I mean, if you can't get the job done in 34 minutes, then like just give up. I mean, that's such a long time for a drone to be in the air. When I first started flying drones, it was like 8 minutes, and I was constantly crashing. Everyone's super excited about the 4K 60, which I am too, but surprisingly, there are two functions in this drone that have this one beat hands down. 240 frames per second now at 1080, as well as HDR video mode. This is gonna be the first of DJI drones to offer HDR video, and it just has my mind completely blown. Why does the MAVIC Air 2 have HDR and the MAVIC Air does not? And a lot of it has to do with the sensor. And that's where there's the most confusion, particularly with, is this one now 8K, it's 48 megapixels, or is it 12 megapixels? It's kind of both. I mean, it's all right there. You guys don't understand that? I do.
The light that hits the image sensor has already been subjected to numerous variables at this point. It's obviously altered by the environment and the reflections that exist there, including the various objects that can reflect their own colors onto others. It then enters the lens, which could have a filter on the front of it, and then travels through the lens and all the various elements in there, and then into the camera, and then finally onto the sensor.
Now, if this is the part where you're gonna tune out because it's too complicated, don't worry, we're gonna go really, really slow, and it is important to understand why the sensor works this way. It's the first DJI drone to have a quad Bayer sensor, and it's gonna behave behave a little bit differently than normal sensor drones. You should also know what the 48 megapixel versus the 12 megapixel really means. You see this really kind of cool color right here? That green, pink thing. So that's a piece of glass with microscopic filters on there. They look like this.
The most common type of this filter is the Bayer filter mosaic, named after Bryce Bayer of Kodak. It uses an array of red, green, and blue filters placed in a square grid in which every 2x2 section will have 2 greens, 1 red, and 1 blue. The reason why there's twice as many green elements is due to the physiology of the human eye, which is more sensitive to green light during daylight vision.
If you were to zoom in, this is just gonna be one little photodiode. It's either on or off, and it's counting how many photons are hitting it based on light coming through.
Now, these filters work much in the same way that the larger ones do in your photo and video work. In simple terms, they're meant to pass through matching colors and reject opposing ones. And the result is this ugly mosaic of color patterns that requires a process known as demosaicing or debayering.
And with the MAVIC Air 2, where that's different, let's zoom into one of these little squares, and it's cut into 4. This is still green, but instead of the big photodiodes, these are like super tiny microdiodes. It's now 4. Instead of 1, it's 4. They're gonna work in cluster, so the camera can either use them as 12 megapixels, or it can use them independently as 48 megapixels. So there is a noticeable sharpness when you're using the 48 megapixel. What's happening in the demosaicing process, they're trying to figure out where that edge is. So if you have a quad Bayer system, which this one is, and you zoom all the way in, you're now gonna have a lot more accuracy on edges. Is it comparable to like an 8K camera with a large sensor? No. No, it's not the same thing. So I don't know, it is 48 megapixels, but it's coming from a 12 megapixel camera. HDR is really cool. We're just telling one of these little micro diodes to shut off at a different exposure timing. Exposure timing is the same as shutter speed. So this could be recording image A at 1/1000th of a shutter speed, and this one could be recording image B at 1/50th of shutter speed. And you combine those two together and you get an HDR photo or video. You also get the ability to turn some of these off and utilize faster processing. So if you were to say, let's shut these two off and just keep those on, and we're gonna double the frame rate, you can get much higher frame rates as well. I actually think the MAVIC Air 2 could do 480 at 720 if they wanted to. I don't know if you'd use it or if it'd be usable, but you could definitely do it with this technology. Otis, how did I do?
I'm calling Gerald undone.
No, do not This episode is sponsored by Skillshare. So I'm constantly packing my brain full of information. I'm always learning. I'm learning things that I have no business learning. Why? Because that's where creativity comes from. You have an idea, you mix it with your experiences, and then you come up with something new. And the only way you get more experiences is by learning. And so if you're at home and you're stuck and you're bored and you don't know what to do, invest in yourself, learn something, try something. But I'm right now learning creativity and beer on the Skillshare app from Garrett Oliver.
Rather than try to make this up myself or just look up some recipe online, I want to dive into it. That's part of what the whole creative process is about.
Guys, who doesn't want to learn beer in 41 minutes? That's like, I'm never gonna make beer. But it's fascinating. Who knows? There might be something in there that triggers a thought for a film. This is where art comes from. It is your responsibility to educate yourself. And what I like about the Skillshare app is that these are videos that are not motivated by views. These are genuinely people who are passionate about what they do, and they have a lot of knowledge that they want to give to you. So if you guys want to help Josh Yo pay rent, right now, Skillshare is offering 2 free months to the first 1,000 people who click the link in the description box to help you explore your creativity. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. So, guys, it's not gonna get much better than this. Send them a message, let them know that you guys wanna get smart like me. Anyway, that's it for me. Super quick episode. I got some errands to run, so I'll see you guys later. Otis is gonna take over. Bye.
New upgrade acquired. Quad Bayer sensor, capable of 4K 60, 240 slow-mo, and HDR video. We don't have a color grade in place that can handle the dynamic range of HDR, compiling a new one based on your tastes.
Okay, all right, on second thought, no, just none of that, no. I'm feeling like a different vibe. Just, let's just enjoy the scenery, right? All right. I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Hey, Mom! I love you.